Hey, welcome back. My name is James Johnson, and my expertise lies in retirement and estate planning. I've been doing this since 2003. I've had businesses since 1983, and I have a passion for teaching people about how money really works. So today I'm going to talk to you about the 10 top mistakes that people make when it comes to their retirement and estate planning. And right at the top of the list is procrastination. Although many people think they're not procrastinating, I find that most people are procrastinating in some fashion or form when it comes to their retirement and estate planning. Now, they once asked Albert Einstein what's the most powerful force in the universe, and he said compound interest. But you see, the key to compound interest is starting as early as possible. Now, rich people, the way they get rich and stay that way is they don't work for their money, they let their money work for them. So you're playing a game. You're over here, you're trying to accumulate as much money as you possibly can so that when you arrive in my world, which is distribution and preservation, you don't run out of money. And the sooner you get to doing that, the better off you're going to be. Now, back when our grandparents and our parents were doing all this stuff, they used to go to work and they counted on the fact that they were going to work for however many years for a company, and then that company was going to provide them with a pension, and then they would get some Social Security, and then whatever little bit of money that they had saved on top would increase their lifestyle. When in reality, nowadays, very few people get a pension. We have to count on Social Security in everything that we manage to save. So the sooner we start saving, the longer we have to compound that money, and the more money we have when it comes time to get out there. Now, in addition to that, the other thing that happens from the form of procrastination is people do not have a good plan on what takes place if something was to happen, such as death or conservatorship. So that's the number 2 thing, failing to have a comprehensive estate plan. People say, well, I don't need an estate plan. I'm not rich. I'm not Rockefeller. I'm not any of those things. Why do I need an estate plan? Well, pretty much everybody needs an estate plan. And here's the reality of the matter. Everybody has an estate plan. Either you have a plan or the government has one for you. So the sooner you sit down and make your wishes known, whether that's going to be with a will or a trust, the better off you're going to be, and the better off your family is going to be going forward. Now, it's important to understand why you would have a trust over a will, because the purpose of a trust is to avoid conservatorship and to avoid probate. Whereas a will, although it is a document that states what you want to have happen for you, it is a guaranteed ticket to probate. Now, the third mistake that I see people make very frequently, and that is taking Social Security at the wrong time. So I'm 62 years old, I'm not making very much money, I want to take my Social Security, or I'm going to quit working, I'm going to take my Social Security, or I got fired and I'm going to take my Social Security. Well, it's important to understand how Social Security works. Now, I'm going to hit all of these subjects at high levels today, but we have videos on the YouTube page, and you can go down below here, and you can go watch a video just on Social Security and understand what the earliest is you can take it, what full retirement or PIA, primary insurance amount, means, and what the latest is you should take it, and what techniques you should use for taking it to make sure you get your maximum amount out of it. There are many things you need to know, such as working while taking your Social Security before your full retirement age could actually cause you to lose your Social Security during that time and lock it into the lowest point. So you want to make sure that you have a good, solid plan on how to take your Social Security, and don't just take it because you think you have to. Now, the fourth mistake that I see people make all the time, and this is probably the most controversial one, this is one where people really get the hair up on their back, and that is paying off their house too early. Now, it's important to understand that you should pay off your house as soon as possible. You should just always have the largest possible mortgage right up until the day you die. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is you should have enough money in investment over here, such as a bank account, CD, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, whatever, okay, to be able to transfer it in to pay off your house at any point in time. But once you see the mathematics on whether or not you should pay off your house, you will quickly begin to understand that paying off your house early is not a good idea. Now, the fifth one that we see is saving money tax deferred as opposed to tax free. Now, this has got to be a little tricky because this is not true for everybody. So some people should be putting as much money as they possibly can in a tax deferred account, and some people shouldn't put in any money in a tax deferred account if they can avoid it. As a matter of fact, if I was under the age of, say, 40 years old today, I would be doing everything I could to not put anything inside of a tax deferred account. I would want to put all of my money in tax-free. Now, why is that important? Well, let me hit you with some quick facts. The highest income taxes have ever been since the inception of the temporary income tax and the establishment of the IRS in 1913 up to today. The top marginal tax bracket has been 94%. 94%. If you lived here in the state of California with a top marginal tax bracket of 94%, you would actually write a check to go to work. I can remember back in the 70s when my father used to say he's not going to work today because he's working overtime and he's going to pay it all out in taxes. Well, I got to tell you, I really thought he was an idiot at the time because how could that possibly be true? But the reality is between federal and state taxes, he was paying out 75% of what he made. And so that would be rather discouraging as whether you should go to work or not. So understand that the top marginal tax bracket was 94%. Currently we're sitting at 37%. And the average over that whole period of time since the inception of the temporary income tax and the establishment of the IRS in 1913 has been about 57%. Now, if that's all you knew, it wouldn't be any big deal. But let's put some more facts on the table. Currently, we have a $32.6 trillion debt. In addition to that, we spent about $1.5 trillion more than we actually brought in, the federal government that is. And we've promised to pay $192 trillion in Social Security, Medicare, and prescription drugs. And these are promises that we're obligated to pay. So when you think about this, we got about a $4.6 trillion budget, and we're about $120 trillion upside down. The logic tells us that there's really only one way for taxes to go, and that's up. Now, if that's in fact true, then do we want to be deferring not only the taxes out to a point in time where the rates are going to be higher, but we're not just deferring the taxes, we're deferring the calculation. And when you start to see the mathematics on that one and you begin to understand that most of you will end up in the same or higher tax bracket when it comes time to retire, you begin to understand why you should be moving as much money to tax-free as possible. And then you also need to understand there's more than one way to do that. So most people think, well, I can't contribute to a Roth IRA because I'm phased out. That doesn't mean you can't get to tax-free. So the number 6 thing that I see people doing, and big mistake, is they spend most of their time following the crowd. And the interesting thing about this is most people spend more time planning their vacations than they do their retirement. And when they actually get the opportunity to sit down and get a clear picture of what their retirement looks like, their whole entire picture changes for them and they stop following the crowd. After all, where did you get your advice on how to invest in your 401k, 403b, 457, etc.? It was probably around the lunch table. I often tell people that their problem is that they live in the box and it says, hey, how do we get out of this box? And they keep talking to the same people in the same box on how to get out of the box, and the directions are on the outside. So if you hear ideas here that are a little contrary to what it is you believe, maybe you're in the same box. But do take the time to set up your no obligation strategy session with us so we can show you whether you're living in the box or not. Now, here's another one, number 7, of our top 10 mistakes that people make when it comes to their retirement and estate planning, is that's how they build their college accounts. Now, most people, when it comes to building a college account, will use a 529 account. And because, after all, they don't know any better. And these are not bad accounts. There's literally nothing wrong with them. But the problems that lie with them is, first and foremost, are your kids actually going to go to college? And what they've come to find out by doing several studies is not everybody should go to college, and some people shouldn't go at all. And so frequently people don't end up going to college, and now they have a 529 account that was tax-free because they can't use it for education. They're going to now have it become a taxable account. There are some ways around this, but there are better ways to build money for our retirement and for our college planning simultaneously that are better than a 529. And like I said, I'm going to hit all this stuff on a very high level because later on you'll want to know what these things are, and we'll go much more in depth into how to solve those problems. Number 8 is underutilizing their most valuable asset. And their most valuable asset for everybody is their insurability. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is that insurance is the only thing out there where we can buy dollars with dimes. So we can get future dollars with very, very tiny dimes today. As a matter of fact, for most of you, one of the best ways you could have built a retirement account for yourself would have been to own death insurance on your parents. After all, what are the chances that your parents will be dead by the time you retire? So investing small dollars back here to get big tax-free dollars up here would have been huge. And there are so many things that you can do with life insurance other than just covering you at death. What if you could grow your money tax-free, access up to 85% of it at any time tax-free, put it back if you want, get most of the gains of the market, never participate in losses, and when you died, it passed on a 2 to 3 times that amount tax-free. Would you want to do that? Well, that has to do with your insurability. Now, the number 9 mistake that I see people make, and that is putting all of their money at risk all of the time. And then they'll say something silly like this. They'll say, well, I'm in a diversified account. What does that mean, diversified account? You're in low, medium, and high-risk stocks, bonds, mutual funds? My only question for you is if something happens in the market, do those accounts go down? And the answer is usually yes. Diversity would mean having many different assets and many different categories. Having some real estate, some gold, some silver, some cryptocurrency, some stocks, some bonds, some mutual funds, I don't know, some annuities, some life insurance. I mean, we could go on and on and on about the different things that we could have so that when something happens in one particular area, not everything we have goes down. I always ask people, how do you win in Las Vegas? And the answer is you don't play. Well, how do you double your money in Las Vegas? Well, the answer to that is you fold it in half. Now, the real question is, how do you win in Las Vegas? And so the real answer to that is when you win, you leave. I ask people, do you go to Vegas? They say, yeah. I says, well, would you take all your stocks, your bonds, your mutual funds, your credit cards, the equity out of your house and go to Vegas with it? Well, absolutely not. I would never do that. Yet you put almost all of your retirement accounts in a risky environment. What's the difference between that and Las Vegas? And I happen to believe that Vegas might be just a little bit more honest than the market. Personal opinion. So the number 10 mistake that people make out there is not creating a comprehensive retirement strategy. Not actually figuring out what their exit strategy is. They keep throwing it at the wall, and praying that when they get out there, they'll actually have enough money. I have yet, not once, in all the people I've ever met with, have I met one person who actually knew where they were financially. And what I mean by that is when I sat them down and I started asking them questions so that I could show them where they were financially, they couldn't answer all the questions. They couldn't tell me what their net income was. They couldn't tell me how much they were saving. They couldn't tell me what tax bracket they were in today, let alone what tax bracket they would be in when they hit retirement. Because they just didn't know. And that gets back to following the crowd and doing all of these things that we're taught to do. So if I could leave you with one piece of advice here today, and that would be take the time, book your no cost, no obligation appointment so that we can sit down and show you what your retirement looks like. Cost you nothing to find out if you can actually make it better. And remember these words: good, better, best. Never let it rest till good gets better and better gets best. Remember to live like you're going to die tomorrow and plan like you're going to live forever, because you just might. I look forward to seeing you again soon. Keep smiling and make it a great day.